Hello, KFC SuperCoaches. It's the Countdown Show, round 20. Huge show, of course. We've got Manly taking the field tonight with 7 players not playing due to religious reasons. There are huge SuperCoach implications there. And to talk it through, we've got a massive panel with the 2 Tims here, runner-up from 2020 and the reigning champion as well. We'll start with you, Tim Williams. Team's absolutely flying in 200 and something.
Mate, the Stals since last time I was on have hit a bit of a wall. I've got that injury curse where everything I do goes to shit. So I missed out. Not sort of
early swear word into the show.
Sorry.
As well.
Should be more experienced with that. A couple of weeks ago, nodded Joey Manu owner for his 191 odd to the dot. That same week, I captained Pappy, who got injured 10 minutes in. I went in the massive pod play to try and jump it and take it, go for the sort of number 1 spot with Kalen Ponga last week. Ooh. Watching that one really hurt. So despite all that, I'm still sitting all right in 350th, but shot at top spot is going downhill very quickly.
Tim Moody, You've had an extremely good season, but last week...
it was basically like Nate Miles in the hotel, just sort of... it was just messy. You know what I mean? It's just something that shouldn't have happened.
Yes, I'm off the book already.
So that's fine. Yeah, I dropped an F-bomb last week, you'd be right. Other than that, look, I left my reserve on Manu, which seemed like the worst thing that could have happened for my round. But then I didn't go with getting Tedesco, which I was very likely to do, and faded that and captained Drinkwater, who I brought in for a lovely 36. So I was about 200-300 points off most teams, and I've dropped to 54th. The rank's not that bad, but the distance from first is quite
I still think you can hold your head high at 50 odd in the rankings, that's for sure. Tonight, massive game, so Manly are depleted. Roosters, a lot of super coaches are backing the Roosters to absolutely ram it home this weekend and get a huge win. The stats on Tedesco as straight captain are huge. The stats on him as VC are huge. And the stats on guys like Manu, Sawali, everyone seems to be playing this week. So super coaches are backing the Roosters to go large tonight. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really think it's not going to be the pushover that everyone's expecting. I think adversity can bring a team together. I mean, this is like clearly a divided, I shouldn't say side at the moment, but on what we're seeing. I just think they're going to get up for it. All these blokes coming into the team are playing like a one-off game. A lot of them are getting debuts. I think they're going to be absolutely giving it their all. At the same time, the players they've lost, there's outside backs, there's bench players. I think Hamole Olakwatu is the only sort of starting, player in the pack who drops out of it. Their spine's intact. The majority of their pack's intact. I don't think Manly are going to win the game, but I certainly don't see it being the blowout that everyone's expecting. Maybe a 15 to 18 point margin, but anyone thinking it might be a 40-0 blowout, I'm not so convinced.
I tend to agree with you there, and the fact that it's at Four Pines or Brookvale Oval, I think they're going to fire up for it. I think there'll be a big crowd there as well. I don't think it's going to be a massive blowout, so I'm a bit... Look, I'm tempted to take on the pod route here and not VC or C, might VC him, but definitely not C Tedesco tonight. How do you see tonight's game going on?
Well, I've had some pretty horrifying nightmares throughout the week of James Tedesco just setting up tries for fun and doing James Tedesco things. So he's definitely coming into my side, and I'll have some sort of vice captain or captain around him. I'm probably going to just vice captain him, just because I don't think the other players in my squad would respect me captaining him just on his first game in return. You know what I mean? It would be a bit weird for them.
Cohesion.
Yeah, a bit of cohesion. Yeah, we need some sort of, someone who's, proven himself last week. So, I don't know, probably not Drinkwater. But other than that, I think that this game is going to go the other way from what you guys reckon. I think it's going to be a hiding. I think, no disrespect to these fellas coming through, I don't know much about them and haven't seen them play footy. Seen a little bit of the highlights they showed on Fox, but of Smalley particular, he looks good.
Yep.
We like him.
Bobby Fulton's grandson's coming in as well, so that'll be a big moment for them.
But too many links in the chain missing, and I think that the Roosters will give them a hiding.
I just think that at Four Pines, with the week that they've had, and Des Hasler is so good in a crisis, he thrives in a crisis. I just think that it's going to be a tight game. I still think the Roosters will win, but I'm definitely thinking of taking the pod route and not putting the definitely not the straight C on Tedesco.
Is that a gut feeling? Because a lot of things are pointing towards Stewart.
It's a gut feeling for me. No C, I'll probably VC him, but no straight C.
Okay.
And straight C is really popular. It's at about 16% this week,
It's smart
which is
because
huge.
if he does go well, I mean, he killed it last week. He scored 90 when Manu had that massive one still, which he'd take. It means you don't cop the AE. And if you've got a side like mine, I had 2 guys that scored 15 last week fighting over the AE position. Only one of them could get into the side with their 15, unfortunately.
Yep, I tend to agree that the VC loophole is so overrated.
Oh.
The only time you ever use it is in the bye rounds, or if you're really tight at the end of the season and you've got heaps of nuffs in your team.
I hopped an AE just because I reserved Manu, not because I looped. Not awesome like that.
I couldn't agree anymore. Like the amount of questions people send in and about like, oh, no, I've got a full 25 active squad. I don't have anyone to A loop if my VC goes bad. It's like, that's not a bad thing at all, like to have depth in your squad, especially we're seeing COVID ramp up again. We know there's going to be late season restings. Injuries are going to hit. We're running out of trades. And I'll tell you what, if you're running out of trades but you've got 25 active players, you're going to feel like you can get away with it, basically.
Yep.
So the VC loop, realistically, I don't know, outside of those bye rounds, 13 and 17, I don't know if I've looped in like 2 years because like the score has to be so big in the current game. Very overrated.
100% agree. And the other point, I've been making this all week, so sorry if you're hearing it for the second or third time, but head-to-head finals finish in round 24, so a week earlier than they have in the past, but you still have round 25 for the overall. So my theory there is that everyone's going to burn their trades for that grand final for head-to-head, and you can make up a bit of ground in the overall in that final round. So you're keeping some trades up your sleeve for
No,
for 25?
Unfortunately, I'd love to have some trades up my sleeves. I used 3 last week when I only planned to use 1 because I panicked. And I'm going to have to use 2 trades to bring in Tedesco and I only want to use 1. So that sucks. And I'm going to have 2 left and I can only bring in... I know exactly what I'm doing now, so the stress is gone. I've got to bring Tedesco in, a Cheapy in for feeder, the Jojo variety.
Yep.
I need to get Hines back into my side and that last reserve that I'll have, only 4 left, will be for a panic situation when someone gets hurt or something.
The final teams have just dropped and Roosters are 1-17, so good news there, no changes. That means that Joey Manu has been cleared to play. He missed last weekend with a quad injury. What were your thoughts around Manu? You were just speaking off air about Manu.
As a non-Manu owner, that was a very tipsy day at the races, pre-round 17 that he wasn't playing. That I ended up going him to Brian Toto, which at the time was a masterstroke because Toto come out and turned up.
I actually thought that was the play of the... Not necessarily selling Manu, but getting Toto in. I thought that was the trade of the year. Hasn't eventuated so much except for that week.
Thanks for reminding me.
You're
mate.
right.
So I had every intention of getting Manu back, but things didn't pan out the way they were. And when I got that 191... anyway, like the way I see Manu is... in terms of still trying to chase top spot, not being within reaching distance, at 800k whilst he's playing centre for the Roosters, I'm happy to anti-pod him. I'm not happy about it, but I'm willing to do it because I know that if I waste one of my final trades on getting Manu in, who's owned by the masses, you're not making up any ground, are you? So I'm basically anti-podding him, going against him. That being said, there was a contingency plan that the second he gets, and there is every week, the second he gets named at fullback or in the halves for the Roosters, he's coming straight into my team because he goes from I think he can average anywhere from 60 to sort of 75 playing centre. The second he goes to the halves or fullback, he's knocking out tons for fun.
Tons. Yeah,
the only
tons
way
for
you
fun.
are making up ground, though, if you do bring him into your side, is if you score better than everyone else with him in your side because your team's better than most other sides, which I'd have the idea that it probably would be, Mr. Williams. You're quite the SuperCoach, so that's something you can consider.
I appreciate
but
the
I do
faith,
understand fading it because if he doesn't go well, then that's a thing you didn't have to worry about, and you don't have to pay the 800k, and you can find points elsewhere.
Easy going in 50th place, isn't it?
Yeah.
54th.
54th.
The guy in 50s is probably going, you're not 50th.
You two need to get a room, I reckon, after this, that's for sure. And moving on to Tapau. So, final team at the Sea Eagles. Tapau is starting. DeLewis goes to the bench. Of course, there was that change that was confirmed yesterday with Kepi out with a shoulder injury. And Fulton, who is the grandson of the great Bob Fulton, makes his debut off the bench. So probably no real SuperCoach relevance going on there. But of course, Manly are playing 7 players short with those guys out for religious reasons tonight. So many questions coming through. Send through your zingers, send through everything. Right now, we're going to pimp your teams. Just looked and there's a lot of political statements coming through on the questions today on Facebook. We'll try and steer clear of that.
I look like Albanese or something like that? Is that the usually someone looks like someone?
Not so much talking about that.
Let's brush past
something
that.
else. A lot of rainbow chat going on here, that's for sure. It's the 2 Timmies, yes. 2 Tims and a Tom tonight on the show. Mail is that Manu drifts into the middle tonight. That's from Mitch Webb. If that was to happen, then he goes from, I think he's averaged 75 at centre wing this year. He could go up to maybe not his tons for fun at fullback, but could improve him up to that sort of 85, 90 mark.
It could happen, and I've always been an advocate of Joey Manu playing that roaming centre role. I think it's underutilised ever since we saw what Tommy Turbo did in Origin. The only thing at the Roosters is like there are so many playmakers in that team between Sammy Walker, Luke Keary and James Tedesco. Walker and Keary still haven't worked out the best relationship in terms of what's best for the team. They're starting to get there. Sammy Walker took on a dominant halves role last week. Keary pretty well played second fiddle to him and it worked for them. You've then got Teddy who jumps into first receiver a lot of the time as well. So I just think if Manu comes in and roams around the field, it could be quite dysfunctional. I might just be telling myself this is a non-Joey Manu owner, but I don't think it'll happen as much as probably it would if he was at any other club in the NRL.
Yeah, personally as an owner, I'm a little disgruntled that he's moved to the centre, but I'm still glad to have him. So no stress.
I own him, and centre, I still think he can go okay, but I'd much prefer him to play 5'8" or fullback, that's for sure. I got a question about Burton. Would you go pod, captaincy on Burton this week? First of all, is Burton a buy for you guys? And then obviously a big risk to captain him. But is Burton high on your radar? He's averaged, since Barrett left, he's averaged in the early 80s, which is obviously completely elite in that 5'8" position.
He's a Penrith product, so he's always going to be quite good.
I'm actually going to tell you, he's actually a Dubbo Sims product.
Yeah, it's all part of the Penrith
country boy.
We grassroots. We spread our seeds.
You just poach your players from the country and claim as
That's
your
fine.
own.
We're
that's why the Dragons, my Dragons, merged with Illawarra. We get everything from from Cronulla down to Victoria.
That's a nice area, the Wollongong area. I've been there recently.
It is quite nice.
Other than that, look, not really important how good Wollongong is, but look, I do think that Tim Williams is probably going to have a pretty big week this week. I'm just saying as a gut feel.
Did you just forget that we were talking about Matt? Yeah. Just start talking.
Please keep these coming, but you're getting my vibes up very high. So
Matt Burton for you, is he an option? And the question is, would you captain him?
So under Potter that you mentioned, but averaging 80 odd, you take out that game against the Sharkies, which was in the absolute swimming pool of a game. I think he's averaging 88. So everything the doggies do in attack comes off the back of Matty Burton. I get massive Adam Dewey vibes last year from him, where I'm hesitant to invest because he's playing the Dogs, who are a bottom tier side in the NRL, albeit they're coming good. But at the same time, if you're the key playmaker in a struggling side, doesn't mean you can't rack up points. Dewey did it for fun last year. I do like him. The games this week, what have they got? Knights this week, and they've got a soft game the week after, I believe. Bit of a tougher run home. So, I think he's a great pod play. You'd be pretty ballsy to skipper him, but
he's a great individualist. He scores tries. He loves scoring tries when he's close to the line. So, I do like it. I'm a little bit jealous I can't do it, but
Cowboys next week, then the Warriors.
Yeah, I've got bigger problems this week. I think that he's a great purchase. I really want him and I really want Valentine Holmes, but I can't bring them in this week because I'm going James Tedesco, which I think is fair enough. you can't have them all. But for me, I've got Tedesco ahead of those two. But when the Bulldogs take the field, I'm going to be watching Burton closely. When the Cowboys take the field, Valentine Holmes, I'll be watching like this.
It's been great this season. I've really enjoyed the SuperCoach season for a lot of reasons. And this time of year, we normally see teams very similar. The amount of buys that came out the last 2 weeks where people are going, all right, Garrick must have, Manu must have, Tedesco, Latrell must have, Harry Grant must have, Cam Munster, all these people that were sold off over the Origin period. And now it's like, well, we've got 4 or 5 trades left. You can't have all of them, which is what makes me think people that are, maybe top 500 or at a stretch top 1,000, things can change pretty quickly. There's big gaps to be made up because these are players who can go 200 on their night. And if they're around that 20-30% ownership, maybe you've skippered them, anything can happen.
Yeah, I think what really will shake it up is just weird things, injuries, COVID hitting and stuff like that, where people can't fill the sides. And I'm pretty scared I might be one of those with limited trades. So
yeah, well, I've got plenty of trades up my sleeve. Maybe through laziness during the year, but I'll have 6 after this week, which is a pretty good spot to be. So hopefully I can make
for
my
Team
way.
of Cadeau special.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the hoarder, the trade hoarder over here. We'll take one more question. Send through your zingers as well, of course. So much Bullimore chat going on. It happens each week. Which cracks me up a bit, but I'm not going to respond to it.
It's an inside joke that we're not in on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The cool guys are talking about it. I don't know what it's about.
There was a question about Angus Crichton before, and I've got him in my team, and I'm playing him this week. I think he's a chance to score tonight at Brookvale. I'm not. Having said that, I'm a bit on the edge about keeping him for the rest of the year. What are your thoughts on Angus Crichton from now to the end of the season?
Why? For what reason would you be hesitant to hold Angus Crichton?
Just because, he hasn't been that good this year. The season average is 6.
Yeah.
Last week was great and he scored the try, but he got saved by the try as well.
But I'm super keen on him. So basically, outside of that 31 against Penrith, where he copped a sin bin and everyone scores poorly against Penrith, in his last, these two scores, 82, 74, 60, 55, 83, 84, 73. Early on the year, I think this brought down his average a little bit. He had those 3 weeks where he played 36, 35, 52 minutes, where he sat on the bench and Trent Robbo decided to start Nat Butcher. He scored 1 try this season, and that was the first time was last week.
That's a crazy start.
I have no concerns around Angus Crichton at all.
All right, convinced me. You've convinced me. You've done the research for me. So yeah, lock him in. He's playing this week and he's staying till the end of the season. For now, let's talk more about tonight's game. It's so big. Let's do the burning issues. So repeating the final teams, the Roosters are 1-17, which means Joey Manu is going to play. He's back from the calf injury. And then at Manly, they've got Tapau starting with DeLewis going to the bench. Fulton comes in for Kepi. That was confirmed yesterday. So not a great deal of late teams news to get through. But of course, the big issue is how will the Sea Eagles perform tonight, given that they're so depleted? And I'm sure that people who bought in DCE last week, when they saw this news on Monday, would have been like, "Oh damn, what?
Frustrating.
How is DC going to be pumping out tons when there's 7 players out?"
I really don't know how the key players will go. I'm sort of tempted to leave Garrick out, but he just does have a big ceiling, and even if he was to score 1 try and kick a couple of goals, he's probably going to get you... I think he scored 48 last week, and I can't imagine him going much worse than that. So, yeah, it's a bit awkward. I think I'll probably leave him out, though.
Leave out Garrick.
Yeah.
Tonight. Yep.
If I had DCE, I'd probably play him just because he's a
have to play
playmaker.
DCE because he takes on so much responsibility tonight. Having said that, I don't think the Sea Eagles will be scoring more than 20 points tonight.
Yeah, they're both really frustrated with DCE owners. Garrick's so highly owned that I don't think it makes a big difference, but you're right, where the difference is whether those that do decide to sit him. I'm playing Garrick, as you said, his floor's pretty low. If you can jag 1 try or an assist or something, I think that should bump him up to that 60, 65 odd mark, kicking goals as well. The big one, teams news with this game for me was just the massive selling Olakuatu. Really surprised. He had 1 poor game last week where he had 3 players out to COVID. 3 starting players as well. You know, it was one day week. Prior to that, he had a 5-6 or sort of game average of 75, 80 odd. A bloke who, while his base isn't as high as other back rowers in the game, it's a bit misleading because he busts so many tackles, he offloads. So I think his floor is more like that 50 to 60, giving away last week. So really, I think if you're trading Olakuatu, you'd want to be well positioned with your trades.
100% agree with that. He is the second most sold player this week, so a lot of people are reacting strongly to that. Tolu Kula is the most sold player, and he was already before this news on Monday. So I think he was a sell already, and the news about all the players getting ruled out has just locked in that trade.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it makes sense. He's done a good job for people who held on to him just that little bit extra as well. He sort of killed it for a bit, but you can probably upgrade to like a genuine guy that you can rely on week in, week out for the run home.
Well, he's made 330 odd K, which makes him one of the best cheapies of the season. So well done to Tolu Kula. James Tedesco, VC or C. Look, we've spoken about it a bit, but just a quick roll call. What are we doing with Tedesco tonight?
I'm captaining.
Yep.
I'm currently vice-captaining.
Right, I'm trying to avoid both. I'm trying to stick.
I reckon you should have your vice-captain on Crichton after he's convinced you not selling.
I can't make late changes.
Kane has scored for you last week.
Every time I make a late change on the show, it stuffs up
forward
something,
thing.
and then you forget to change your reserves afterwards and whatever else. I've retired from making late changes on the show.
Is play your nickname, or is that just default on the jersey? Player Sangster.
That's just he's a player.
Tommy the player Sangster.
It's good with the ladies.
Oh, please.
That's what I was jumping to.
Maybe 15 years ago. Joseph Suwali. So a lot of people are bringing him in this week. Certainly if you own him, I think he goes into the 17.
Yeah, I'd like to own him. I wouldn't buy him. I think that there's probably bigger and better targets in that 7 centre wing positions, but yeah, if you've still got him, he's a great thing. I wouldn't sell him.
Send through your zingers as well, guys. Of course, if you do get the zinger of the week, and it's going to pop up on the screen now, not only will you get that come up on the screen, but you'll win one of these balls on the table here. We've got a few coming through. Not that many are readable, to be honest. So I might just take a proper SuperCoach question. It's from Joshua Williams, and he says, Tu'o or Murray this week?
As a trade-in.
As a trade-in,
yeah, it wouldn't
I
be as a
assume,
play.
yeah.
You'd be playing them both if you had them both, so... Whoa.
It depends on your team makeup.
I'm going to say Tole.
I bought Murray last week, and I'm pretty happy with it. In that position, I needed to pump up that position, and I think you're going to get 75 for him for the rest of the year.
Tole on the right with Luai out probably gets more love. I like him because he's a Panthers player. He's got good base, and there's massive upside there too if you can go over for a few. So I've had to fade Tole. I had to toss between Holmes or him. And, you know, I was basically only picked Holmes on matchup. So
Well, we've got a question from Tobias asking Holmes or Garrick. I assume for a trade-in this week, I'd certainly be leaning towards Holmes with his 2 really good matchups coming up. What do you reckon?
That's a tough one. I'd probably go Holmes just because he's far more of a pod than Garrick, and like we don't know how Manly will come out of this saga. They might be fine, but look, they're pretty similar in the sense that sorry, battling.
That's fine.
Yeah, cheers, mate. They've both got soft runs home. They're both goal kickers. On face value, I probably prefer Garrick, to be honest, but would I be trading Garrick in this week? No. The Cows have a particularly nice run home. I don't think you go too far wrong either way.
Got a zinger come through from Michael. His top fan +1 on Facebook. Oof. He's saying when he's thanks to revealing his rainbow chicken wing tattoo, which I don't mind. Munster or Burton this
what's the
week?
chicken wing part? I don't get that part.
It's KFC.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Sorry.
Or it could be like a type of illegal tackle in rugby league as well. I mean,
that's what I was leaning towards, the Melbourne style,
here. I had a question here. Would you go Munster or Matt Burton? Which I think is a good question.
I'd have to straight away, without any doubt, say Munster because he's the best in the position. Melbourne, with having lost a few games, have really got to turn it on too. And, look, he said last weekend before the game he was going to have a blinder and to keep an eye out for him, which made me trade him in. So I think after not having that much of a blinder, sure, he's got to pull a few rabbits out of the hat this weekend.
I think that Bellamy, after that spray that he had in the press conference, I think the Storm are just going to absolutely storm home, so to speak. Sorry about that pun. It just came into my head. But I think they're going to really build some momentum into the finals. I think they're going to go gangbusters from here until the end of the season. And obviously Munster's going to be at the centre of that.
Yeah, I think sometimes we as Supercoaches can overthink things a little bit. Like if you blank, blank resume, Munster v Matt Burton, and you've got Bulldogs, Melbourne Storm. It's got to be Cam Munster, who's so proven for so many years. Most of this season we've seen him as a must-have. I think they've both got. Well, the Dogs have 2 or 3 nice weeks coming up, then some tough ones. The Storm have the Warriors this week, then the Titans next week. The good thing about them this year is, I don't think he'll get rested, which every other year he does late in the season because they're going to be playing for likely a top 4 spot.
He's the fittest he's ever been.
Yeah,
too,
and I just think he hasn't had the best season this year, Brandon Smith, but I think they're missing that more agile, smaller bloke in and around the ruck. So I think when he comes back next week, you're going to find the Storm getting a bit of a roll on, playing on the front foot a lot more, and I think we're going to see Melbourne come good. So it's got to be Munster, doesn't
I
it?
tend to agree. I reckon he's a sneaky captaincy choice this weekend against the Warriors as well, at home at Amy Park. So Payne Haas, he is the second most purchased player this week, and one of the reasons is this amazing try from last week. It got our SuperCoach Player of the Week.
Young Broncos side, that's a great try.
So there you go, Payne Haas. That's the reason why a lot of people are bringing him in this week. I held him through all those injuries, so I'm hoping that he'll end the season really strongly. What are your thoughts on him? How do you think he's going to end the year?
I don't know. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'd love to get him in, but I've got Papali'i and Taumalolo in my front row. I've got Max King as cover. I'm trying to make up a bit of ground like most of us are. Is bringing Payne Haas, who's averaging, early to mid-60s this year, really going to do it? I know he turned up last year, but he's not a noted try scorer. He does have a few injury concerns. Both shoulders have gone on him at times this year for different reasons, I think being AC joint injuries. Certainly, he's a great trade-in. He's one of the best front rowers in Supercoach. He's cheap as chips, but for people that are well set up in the front row, I don't think it's a priority trade-in.
Yeah, I think you'd only want him if you've got one strong guy, like you've got a Tarpany and then maybe a King, and you're I could probably improve on King.
King to Haas, sweet.
You could still play King, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's the only way I'd go about it.
I think extremely solid head-to-head player. If you're looking maybe overall and you're looking to make up
good runs on the board,
probably wouldn't go there. But if you want to go really solid in your head-to-head and you're doing quite well in that competition, then definitely bring him in. I'm in a bit of a panic because I've just remembered that I've forgotten to do my trades. So we're doing those live on the show.
Timmy Moody take over hosting for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
No worries. Look, have we got to the burning issues? We were talking about burning issues. Have we gotten to our guilty pleasure yet?
No, we haven't. We've got to, can you throw to late mail?
I can throw to late mail.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Down the barrel.
There you are. All right, we're doing some late mail.
Yes.
Sangster out of a job.
Huge. Oh, that was great. I'm out of a job. And Tim Williams is our late mail man, writes it for us every week as well. So I may as well just stay silent in this segment and do my trades. I'll just start it with Jerome Luai. I might point this to you, actually. Jerome Luai out for the regular season. He won't play again in the SuperCoach season. How will that affect Targo, May, and more importantly, the bloke that your team is named after, Viliami Kikau?
Look, I don't know. I have heard, I think it was your thoughts previously throughout the week that, that he likes to run the ball a bit more, Sean O'Sutherland. But look, I think that the players that come in, they sort of try and fit the role without they still play their own game, but I'd like to think that it's not going to be just a complete, shut-off zone, like a no ball for you guys up there, you know what I mean? So it should be sweet. I'm not too hesitant to not play my guys.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how, both Luai and Stephen Crichton, how it impacts them, because as it stands, I've got Tungo, May and Kikau, that entire left edge, so I'm not thrilled about it. I'm looking at maybe flicking Tungo this week, who's been rock solid all year for him. I'd love to hold him. And then more over to the right side, Nathan Cleary is going to see a lot of... He sees a lot of ball anyway. I think he's going to see a lot of attacking ball in the opposition red zone, that 20 metres. So I think Cleary stocks go through the roof. And the other one that obviously impacts is Brian Toto, who you touched on before. That right edge is going to get more ball, which is great news for Brian Toto. Fortunately, also own him. Stephen Crichton out for what might be a week, might be a couple of weeks, who bit of a glue hands, doesn't pass often. So now Jennings coming in there on the right edge, I think it really helps Toto as well.
Luke Brooks looks like he's played his last game for the West Tigers, which is a bit of a shame. But what's the mail on him?
Yeah, so training injury. I was trying to remember what it was. Was it calf or something?
Calf, I think,
calf,
yeah.
So it could be last game of the season for Brooksy. Initial word I'm hearing is that Hastings will stay at lock and they'll continue on with that experiment. And it'll be young Jock Madden coming into the halves. Whether that sticks come game day, we'll soon see. SuperCoach-wise, probably not a tremendous impact either way, is there?
Look, Wilson Smith, who I sit next to in the office, did mention that Adam Dewey could now be an option with this news. Any love for him? It's Adam Dewey I love from a
I think he's
SuperCoach
still an
perspective.
option, to be honest, Adam Dewey. I don't think it makes him that much more of an option. I don't think he's going to command great amount extra ball, similar to not like the Cleary Luai thing. I think if you've got another sort of guy that's sort of controlling the game, I don't know, Jock Madden he seems more of a running sort of player.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a bit strange. But I think Hastings, if he went, he can manage a game and sort of. So I think that could work out better for them.
The problem is there's the Tigers, and I don't think you can trust any attacking player at the Tigers. No. But Adam Dewey's
an option.
He's got if the Tigers start going well or he moves to a decent club, then he will be a SuperCoach factor at some stage in his career.
The Storm will probably sign him by the weekend.
Yeah, probably, exactly. We'll get Corey Waddell. So he's been handed a 5-match ban, came through on the judiciary on Tuesday night. Ruben Cotter is a strong chance to come onto the bench. What's the mail on him? Yeah,
expecting Cotter to play this weekend. I think it'll be really limited minutes. The flow-on effect from that could be, SuperCoach relevant in that there's every chance that it sees Jake Granville drop out of the team, which basically means that Reece Robson's locked into his 80-minute role, which he plays it most weeks anyway, particularly in tight games. But the Cowboys sitting where they are in the top 4, they've got a lot of soft games on the run home. So they're going to have games where they blow out scorelines a little bit and Robson could go straight off. But with Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow as the utility on the bench, they sort of they see Cotter as being able to cover for Robson if need be. Yeah. Obviously, because he's played plenty of hooker in the past, so they don't need to carry Cotter and Granville. So I think good thing for Robson and Cotter. If you've got him in there in your side and you've held on to him all this time, I do think with that hamstring injury and the chance of aggravating it, the Cowboys will limit his time. So I wouldn't be looking to play him in 17s just yet.
Going to take your questions now for a couple of minutes. Valentine Holmes or Harry Grant? That's come through from Paul Sumner, who is a top fan.
It's tough because they're very different positions. They do very different jobs for you, and Harry Grant's just the best in his position. So I feel like you'd rather rely on having that guy because you know that more often than not, he'll probably score 10, 20, 30 points more than most players, especially if the Storm are playing well. Whereas Holmes has got a good run, especially the next 2 rounds particularly. He kicks goals. He scored like a ton plus last week. I'd say if you lack upside guys on your side and you're like, oh, that guy could go big, and that guy, and that's about it, maybe chase that extra upside guy. And if you've got a few good basic guys on your side, like you've got a few Cam Murrays and Cotters or someone once they return, probably a bad example because you wouldn't want to play him, but similar base guys. Yeah.
I'd say if you're a head-to-head guy and you think you're going pretty well in your league, go Harry Grant. If you need to make up a bit of ground, go with Valentine Holmes. Remembering that Holmes has got 2 good matchups in the next 2 weeks, and he had that amazing one last week as well, then it gets tough for him from there. So he might not be banging out these massive tons every week like he did last round.
Who's that?
Val Holmes.
Last game's awkward.
Cow's got a pretty good draw.
Yeah, they got 2. Well, the next 2 are amazing.
Last round. Penrith and Bunnies, who they were easy beats, weren't they? And then all of a sudden you've seen them in the run home. You're like, oh, maybe not.
Another guy. Oh, no, that's... Last game's Penrith. Yeah, so that's a bit awkward.
A lot of talk about Nofaluma this week. He's signed with the Storm. He won't play this week. But, a guy who's been a SuperCoach gun for a number of years at a team that doesn't score barely any tries, and now he goes to one of the best attacking teams in the comp. How do you think it's going to unfold, and does he even play in that side?
Well, I'll say I did look to see how much he was at some point throughout the week to see whether he had be able to downgrade him in any way to fund my Tedesco, and I was like, oh no, he's kind of expensive. But I think if you've got a fair few trades and he does get a go, it could be a good thing.
Yeah,
You want to see one game first.
He's still got to unseat the great Grant Anderson first. So.
Yes, exactly.
The other one there is Xavier Coates is due back round 22, I believe, so a couple of weeks. Remus Smith has gone for the year, but you'd assume Coates, say he slots straight in for Grant Anderson. So then it comes down to Jeremiah versus Noffa. You'd think they'd go with Noffa, but who knows? But yeah,
You're not going to buy him just to sit him there, are you, for no reason? And pay
Well,
for him?
he-
I guess for
It's the
protection if
30th
you need
spot.
him.
It's the 30th spot in their roster.
Yeah.
And Bellamy seems to like to back the guys who have been in the system for a while.
Always.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Noffa doesn't play.
I could see him going with, even though Nofa has his issues, I could see him with going with the experience. He's, probably not played finals for a while, but...
Imagine Noffa in that Storm side at the start of the year that were putting like 50 points on teams for fun. Like, we saw what Xavier Coates is doing with a few back-to-back tons there. Imagine Noffa scoring those tries and busting 18 tackles and offloading six times.
Yeah,
and
making 20 runs in the game. Munster v Haas for a trade. What are your thoughts there? I think you probably have to go upside of Munster at the Storm. And Munster or Holmes?
Munster for sure.
Ahead of Holmes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Munster.
Fair enough. Burton. Oh, there's a lot of zingers coming through, but I can't. I need to read them first.
A little too spicy, these
I need to
zingers.
yeah, spicy zingers. I need to check them first. So let's go to guilty pleasures. Right, you've already you almost threw to guilty pleasures earlier. What's
I discovered what mine is.
Yes.
It's drinky.
Yeah,
I had him earlier.
Is that the player drinky or
Drink
just
water, yeah.
Drink.
Not drinking. Yeah. Look, I don't mind a cheeky beer, but yeah, no. Look, drink water is my guilty pleasure. I had him earlier in the year. I know he's got those low games in him, and it really scares me. And just like I just like the kid. You know what I mean? There's something about him. He's got energy. I like his baby face, and I feel like he's come from the Melbourne Storm system. I just feel like he's got it in him, and I just want him to pay me dividends. We'll see how he goes this weekend, huh?
Guilty pleasure?
My one is I'm going to touch on last week's one because I wasn't on the show, and it was Kalen Ponga was my enormous guilty pleasure. So much love for the bloke.
Yeah.
As a footballer and just all-round good-looking fella, cool dude. Yeah, and I went into last week just going, 0% ownership. He's just torn apart the Blues. He had like a really good 4-5 round average. He was kicking goals again for the Knights, who had a soft draw coming up. And we all know how that ended for me. So guilty pleasures, not a good thing.
Yep, 100%. Speaking of guilty pleasures, we have a video of a streaker right now.
We're going streaking! We're going streaking through the quad and into the gymnasium. Come on, everybody!
There you go, one of the greatest SuperCoach videos of all time. And I hope there's a streaker tonight in this, what's become a bit of a pride game tonight. I hope it happens. Someone goes out with a rainbow across their chest or something. I want it to happen.
And they go and punch Joey Martin in the calf.
No, we don't. No. Don't go near James Tedesco either, that's for sure. It's getting a bit late for cheapies. It's sort of cheapies or nuffs. Let's talk cheapie of the week. Right, so there's really only one cheapie who people are considering this week. It's Jojo Fafita, also known as Sesefo Fafita. You're bringing him in instead of enough?
I'm going to bring in Jojo, not Yeah, I'll bring Jojo in. That one he seems a little bit chill. Sorry, bro.
No, you had to, mate. Can't get away with us. Can't get away with anything here, man.
How good did Jojo look last week in a losing team? Just seeing him tear after Addo-Carr with those runaway tries. Nearly got him both times.
I actually thought of getting him for round 1 at the start of the season because there was a fair bit of mail floating around that he'd be into that team pretty quickly, and it's taken until round, whatever it was, round 18 or something for him to come in. So I'm glad I didn't. If it was earlier in the season, he would be getting purchased by 40,000 people this week.
I was having a scroll through today, a few cheapies, and the one I came across, 175k Moses Mbai.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
Bottom dollar.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. And he's playing. Is he playing fullback
Playing
this week?
fullback.
Yeah, he's starting fullback this week.
Try not to
with
fall for
Ramsey
that
out.
because I took Tyrone Wishart when he was starting at fullback for the Storm, and he only got one game, and then he's been an AE nightmare, and he's gone down to 175k now too. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit awkward.
Do not buy Moses Mbai.
No,
But
don't go there. But Williams, would you be going Jojo Fafita as Cheapy, or would you be nuffing up at this time of the year?
I've always been a pretty anti-nuff stance, to be honest, and particularly just since COVID's hit, you just don't know. Like as we said before, it's starting to ramp up again for the third time in Sydney or in Australia. So you just don't know what's going to happen. Where let's say it comes through and just decimates through a Penrith squad or something that's heavily owned in SuperCoach or a Roosters in round 24 or 25, along with restings elsewhere and injuries. We've got no trades left. I want to have someone like Fafita there as an extra number, worst case scenario, every day of the week.
Yeah,
so,
me too.
Look, I'm not a huge advocate for nuffs. So
I don't mind though if you want one nuff so you can do the loop and so you can just also downgrade and not worry about the AE dramas as well. The best place to probably do that is you can pull me up on my bloody tongue now is the centre wing position because you can drown them out amongst many of others, and also second row. Don't even mind it in the front row as long as you've got one backup guy to the two starters.
Yeah, if you can swing a guy like Max King with enough, that's a good thing to do. I'm actually nuffing this week. I agree that I want more depth, but it would mean just ruining the balance of my team. And with enough, Shannon Harris is coming in, and I can move guys like Targo. I still own Bo Firma and Talakai, those sort of guys I can switch around. So it gives me more. Yeah, he's actually had a very good season. And he re-signed today until
he's
like
good.
2026.
So, shining light for them.
Signed him.
Well, now he's going to go on the
contract.
plummet.
Probably.
And on the nuffs, as you said, it's very circumstantial to your team, and like you've got 6 trades left, so you can cover things a little bit more than the rest of us with 3 and 4 trades left. So
well, the other advantage is Jojo is centre wing only, whereas if you're going to pick up enough, obviously you'll pick up a guy who's got dual position flexibility and you can flick it around during the round. Biggest decision on most weeks is who to captain. Let's do Cope's captains. Right, so I'm just going to run through a couple of stats here. Nathan Cleary at 17%. Got the Eels this week. It's not the best matchup, but you guys have already spoken about how he could take on more responsibility in that team with Jerome Luai out.
I'd normally put a line through Cleary on that matchup. I've normally have para respect and sort of go their top 4-5 sort of side. There's probably a more lucrative game where there's a team that has more advantage than on another side, but they're actually leaking a lot of points. They're 10th in defence, the Para Eels, and I think it's Moses' side. And I've just seen he's been a bit weak, and I can see Cleary just sort of showing him up. So I don't mind it this week. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking I might go there on Munster.
Yep. Yeah, I do like Munster a lot against the Warriors.
Hoping I can loop Teddy if he kills it.
Teddy's at 15%, which is pretty high on a normal week. But the fact that he's playing the first game of the round, it's exceptionally high for so a lot of people are going with Teddy, and you've already locked it in.
Yeah, if he scored 80 last week, that 15% would be like 3% because everyone would have VC'd him. But he scored 150, so it's irrelevant. So yeah, I'm pretty keen on Teddy. I just think, despite saying before, I think Manly get up for it. I do still think the Roosters win comfortably, and on the chance that they do capitulate after the week that they've had and the rookies just don't stand up to it at all, like he could go big. And there's some decent options this week, but there's no clear-cut players that you like,
Let's chat about Latrell Mitchell. He's pretty popular as a captain. What are your thoughts on him this week? He's averaged 107 since returning from that injury.
Not against. I don't like
But
it against the Sharks. I've got a lot of respect for them defensively as well. Even
and it's at Cronulla too, which I think is important.
Yeah, I know they've got like Finucane's out, and they've probably got a little bit of a weaker side, but I still wouldn't do it.
I'm not entirely convinced by the Bunnies just yet. They've got a couple of tough games coming up, so we're going to find out if they've really turned a corner or not, and this week's another example of that. But in that game, I actually don't mind Nicho Hynes. I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game. The Bunnies have been good the past month, but they also conceded just about 30 points against the Knights and the Bulldogs in games that they won. So the Sharks being one of the best attacking sides in the competition, I think Nicho at home at Shark Park, I think he could be in for a big one. Sorry to say it, Timmy, that'll kill you, but
I'm picking him up next week, so it's always the guy I'm picking up next week.
So in that game, I'd narrowly go Nicho over Latrell, but I mean Latrell's a fair shout.
Yep. Moving on to the VCs, we've got Teddy at 13%. So between the VCs and Cs on Teddy is just way ahead of everyone else this week. And of course, he takes the field in about 5 minutes' time. Cleary at 7% as VC. Papali'i at 6%. I find a little bit strange, given he doesn't have that upside. Nicho Hynes is high as well. One that I do like is Joey Manu at 6%. And I wouldn't even mind a sneaky little crack at Joseph Suwali tonight as well. What do you reckon?
I don't mind because they're weird VCs. Like you can just sort of, if it doesn't work out,
Just
then
have
get
a crack.
your captain right. And if you do nail it and no one else is on it, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, tempting. I just really want Joey Manu to go badly. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, and I really hope David Fafita goes well this weekend, as having captained him last week and missed out on the Teddy train. We're going to take questions till the end of the show. Send them through on Facebook. Would you buy Corey Oates for the run home? I think is that
It's not the worst shout.
Yeah.
Like the Broncos have, it's really up and down run. I think it goes like basically soft game, tough game, soft game, tough game, soft game. I just scored well this year. They use him really well. They bring him in field for like some plays as well, which is scoring tries off. Look, again, as a pod player, I honestly don't mind it too much.
Zingers coming through. Brad Durrant says Sangster looks like a cucumber.
Cool as a cucumber.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's not bad. We'll zing that up for sure. It could go down as we've only got 3 minutes to go, so we're running thin. Send through your zingers. What have we got here? Talakai. Would you be selling Talakai?
I've still got him, and it's been Talakai. Would you sell Talakai for probably about the last 10 weeks since he hasn't killed it in that massive game? No, because I just feel like there's more to come. It's going to happen at least one more time, and I don't want to not be on that. So,
yeah, I own him, and I don't feel particularly happy about it. But I've got him. He might end up becoming Valentine Holmes or someone like that in the next couple of weeks. But for now, I just have to hold.
I honestly don't mind him. Like, I know that the stats are all in front of us that after his big 150 game that he's only been solid as a CT dub second row option. But as I said, that dual positioning is handy. Cronulla's draw is so soft after this week. Even though I said this week, it doesn't worry me too much with that Bunnies matchup. And I just think with the masses selling, I think he has some big scores left in him.
yeah, the next two games I think are particularly good for
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Ashley Nicholson, who's a top fan, is asking, sell Targo to fund Tedesco and Munster. I think you probably have to.
Yeah, I
don't
can
you?
get around that.
Yeah.
If that's like your weaker player that's got more money built into their wage, I guess, or what they're getting paid, what they're worth, that'd be the go, especially if you can get both those guys in, for sure.
I did some playing with my trade options today, and it never works in my favour when you go to trade out that player and you know it's going to be tight cap-wise. And I went to go Max King to Val Holmes via Jules, and it was $0 on the dot left.
I've never
So
had that.
I'm looking at that. But on the question, he's actually also my backup to Papali'i and Taumalolo. Otherwise, I've got Pole and Fafita. It's my 1 weak spot in my side that it's a bit of concern. So if I trade King and Trosh, I'm actually thinking about moving on Tungo, who I've been an advocate to hold all season, but I just think, as rock solid as he is, he just doesn't seem to have that ceiling of other CT dubs. So, yeah, Tungo's going for me.
Loaded question here from Angela, and we don't have much time, but is looping cheating? I think that's
Not
good.
at all. As
It's-
long as
it's part of the rules.
Yeah, part of this playing to the same game. It's part of strategy. It's added new things.
And as we've said at the start of the show, looping is completely overrated. You only ever do it on the bye rounds, realistically.
Yeah, after Joey Marnie got 190 a few weeks back, I'm going to go with that lady and say that it's cheating.
yeah.
And I think if we can reverse that, then... Yeah,
If the Tigers can have 5 captains, we can at least have 10.
Exactly, good call. Well, that's it for the Countdown Show, round 20. Great to have the runner-up from 2020 and the reigning champ on the show. The Zinger winger, the Zinger winner, I've just got come through my ear. Does it go to the cucumber chat?
Yeah, cucumber guy. Look, it wasn't like it's not like like he's not getting heaps of like ha-has, but it's not too bad. You kind of look a little bit like a cucumber.
Cool as a cucumber,
Cool
like
as
the
a
player that
cucumber.
you are saying.
All right, let's lock it in. That's it.
slice him
Cool as a
up.
cucumber. You win one of these on the table there. Brad Durrant, I'm just told, is the man. So
Huzzah.
hit us up on Messenger, on the NRL SuperCoach Messenger page. That's it for the Countdown Show, round 20. Good luck, and thanks to the boys on the panel.